Look, when Dave Canales press conferences sing you lullabies every night, you know a couple things. I dang near had the Panthers.com in my Spotify Wrapped. 65,000 minutes, 46 days, Panthers.com. Like many in the comments section, I picked up on a few things. St. Crimson Tweets had this yesterday. Many of you on this take yesterday. I'm not the biggest Bryce Young stan. I'm not sitting in the window, it's raining, looking at Bryce Young across the street. I'm not doing that. I've been critical of the vertical passing game. Some say, Tone, you're in a situationship with the quarterback. I don't love the quarterback. 2 a.m., I might watch a highlight reel or something. And I think he's had a couple moments where he shined this season. The fifth-year options common sense. Mike Kaye's reporting it. Joe Person's reporting it. Joe Person writes on the Athletic mailbag. The decision to pick up Young's fifth-year option before the May 1st deadline at an estimated $26.5 million per over the cap is an easy one, says Joe. This is after the Graziano report on Tuesday, stating the Panthers are expected. Graziano expects the Panthers to pick up the option. Mike Kaye adds with his own twist. Young's option, which would be for the 2027 NFL season, it would be exercised by May 1st of 2026. The option for the 2027 season, securing Young under contract through 2027. Kaye writes, it's less than half of the annual average of salaries of Green Bay's Jordan Love at $55 million, Jacksonville's Trevor Lawrence, $55 million, and Miami's Tua Tagovailoa, $53.1 million. This is largely all conveying the same point, which is the fifth-year option, regardless of everything else, is going to be the safe option for the Panthers. And I know people want to see the last few games and see how things shake out. If Young goes out there and rolls a dud, is it going to be difficult to give Young the fifth-year option? I kind of cringe at that question because who else are you getting? And you have a decent enough body of work where you look at the free agent class, and sure, you might land Malik Willis. You might bring in Trey Lance. They're not an immediate fix. So what are you going to do? Do what you did in 2021 and give up a second and fourth rounder for Sam Darnold and then exercise his fifth-year option? What are you going to do? Pay a guy like Teddy Bridgewater 3 years, $63 million like you did in 2020? You've been plagued by decisions where you have paid guys, you have traded gosh knows how many picks for quarterbacks. You have a guy who's inconsistent. You have a guy, he either gives you high blood pressure or he makes you, like me a couple weeks ago, jump out of the couch and fist bump. It's better than what's available to you. Maybe Daniel Jones gets free from Indianapolis. I'm not convinced that's going to happen. I think he's going to stay there. The draft, it's not going to work. You're not going to be outbidding the Raiders and Browns. Probably other teams will be in the mix. The Vikings will probably want a quarterback. Weren't they literally trying to resurrect Carson Wentz in the hospital to go play on the field? Young becomes the safe option for the Panthers. And this notion that Dan Morgan isn't thinking about it, that Dan Morgan, he's just waiting to decide on the fifth-year option. I think one of your Morgan's strengths is he does wait out the decision, right? With Ekwonu, he waits till the last weekend before he has to give the fifth-year option to the Panthers left tackle. They wait it out with Ekwonu. They see how the draft shakes out. They see maybe if they can get a tackle or see how the board goes. They wait for free agency. They did go back and forth a little bit with Ekwonu's camp trying to solidify an extension. Morgan waits till the last possible second to give Ekwonu the fifth-year option. Mike Jackson, your cornerback 2 over the past 2 seasons, you didn't trade for him until late August in 2024. Tetairoa McMillan, another example. I don't think Morgan was completely convinced he was the guy. And they got to draft night. They were willing to trade down. They didn't really have a solid decision. McMillan was the best guy for them. They ended up taking him. The key with Morgan, I think it makes him really good at football, is he's willing to wait it out. So he'll do that with Young. I'm not saying they're going to give him the fifth-year option tomorrow. They might not even do it until April. Honestly, I don't think they should. They should see how the draft goes. They should see how free agency goes. They should wait and see, of course. And Morgan will do that. I'm convinced he will. I'm just telling you, I think the take is this: listening to Panthers.com like it's Spotify rap, listening to 46 Days of Panthers.com, putting yourself in Dan Morgan's shoes. He's not drinking too much pre-workout and forgetting to think. Of course he's thinking of the number one question that has plagued this franchise over the past 7 years. Honestly, like, you just go through the timeline. 2020, give Teddy Bridgewater 3 years, $63 million. Let Cam Newton walk. It gets ugly at the end. 2021, you have no quarterback. You trade a late 2021 sixth rounder and a second and fourth in 2022, and then get Darnold and give him more money. 2022, you trade for Baker Mayfield because you're not convinced Darnold is the guy. Tepper had that famous quote where he was like, "We thought Darnold was good, but now he kind of sucks." And then, of course, 2023, you trade DJ Moore, the 9th overall pick, the 61st overall pick of the 2023 NFL draft, and this wording's a little messed up, the first overall pick in 2024 and the second round selection in 2025 for Bryce Young. You don't think that keeps Dan Morgan up at night? You don't think the decision about the quarterback position is on the bulletin board? They'll just think about it later. Oh, come on. Please. Please. With everything they have been through, they've literally gone to quarterback hell. Quarterback hell. This franchise, they're thinking about it. They're thinking about it. And again, I'm not telling you I'm sold on Young's long-term future here. I just think between what they've done in the past in terms of the failures they've had at the position, and also I think this comes into play because this is a financial decision, which means some way, somehow Tepper's involved. I'm not saying he's making the long-term decision on Bryce Young. I just think in the past, you look at when they traded for Darnold, they liked the compensation. Tepper's quote, "At the time we traded for Darnold, the compensation was moderate. And what the coaching staff and the scouting staff thought at the time was he was a very young, talented man." Darren Gant goes on, "When trading for Darnold, picking up the fifth-year option is not without risk, of course. But thinking of it as a 2-year, $23.632 million deal takes some of the sting out of that decision." Take some of the sting out of that decision. I'm not going to bore you with all this for too long, but that's how they think about that option. I think it's the same thing with Young. Young, obviously much better than Darnold. They gave Darnold the fifth-year option when Darnold was literally seeing ghosts. Some wrote Darnold off completely, myself included. He was literally seeing ghosts, and they gave him the fifth-year option. I think they like it. I think teams generally like it. I think if you can squeeze something out of the quarterback. Honestly, if Young can continue at the trajectory he's playing at, I think the fifth-year option's worthwhile. And that's why Joe Person writes, the question is not whether or not they'll give him the fifth-year option. It's about whether the Panthers want to make, quote-unquote, Young the next member of the $50 million club. And if so, when? That's the main question. It's not the fifth-year option. Worst case scenario for Young. Let's say you get Malik Willis in here and he lights it up. Or maybe you draft a guy. Or maybe Mendoza falls or whatever. Let's say you have a new quarterback in 2026. These next 4 games flounder Worst case scenario. Again, I think Young's going to do good because you're coming off the bye. Historically, in 2024, he put up more than 75 yards more after the bye. His touchdown to turnover ratio improved by more than 2x. He's going to come off hot. I'm telling you, that's my prediction, statistically backed. If it doesn't happen, you can yell at me. Let's say he flounders and does bad. I still think the fifth-year option is good because the market for Young still exists. And I generally believe that there is a market for young quarterbacks taken to the top of the draft. I think how Tepper felt about Darnold is honestly a visionary way of thinking. As much as Tepper has messed this team up, he was doing what a lot of teams do now. And now you have guys like Mac Jones, who was formerly a broken quarterback. And the beat reporters in San Francisco are reporting that he might have a second-round value this offseason. You don't think a team, even with Young getting the fifth-year option, would maybe take some of the financial hit and give up a sixth-rounder for him? I think he'll have a market. I think there's a market of teams that want the formerly top draft pick quarterback to bring him in and see if they can resurrect him. I think they're kind of like cars, honestly. My stepfather got this Alfa Romero. I'm not a big car guy. And the thing doesn't run. I think squirrels ate out the engine 4 times. The thing's all like messed up. And he goes, I love it because I get to fix it up. And I think Shane Steichen, I think Kyle Shanahan, I think Kevin O'Connell think the same way. It's like an Alfa Romero. Oh, it threw a bunch of interceptions. Bring it in. Bring it in. Stepfather is not a Panthers fan, unfortunately. He liked the Jets. Wow. Unbelievable. How about this? Enough about the quarterback, unless I want to talk about the quarterback in 2 seconds. Unless I want to bait and switch you, like I always do, and then proceed to talk about the QB. So I'm not going to do that there. Don't do it, Tone. Don't do it. My Roman Empire is the Panthers quarterback. That's what they tell me. They go, this is my Roman Empire. I don't even know what that means, but I think it's my big deal. Will Panthers extend Ikem Ekwonu? Amazing. Joe Person, mailbag. I don't link these things often. I always forget. I used to be really good at doing it. I'm going to link it for you in the description. Joe Person answered a number of great questions. Amazing questions. Some people had even seen Joe Person in public. And then Joe Person goes, I'm going to buy you a beer next time. So we all have to go and find Joe Person because he will give you a beer, evidently. This is per the mailbag. So take it as you will. Will Panthers extend Ikem Ekwonu? And that was the general drift of the question. Ekwonu, like I said, is a case study for Young and Morgan, where they waited till the last second to give him the fifth-year option. Waited until, I believe it was April 26th. It was a Saturday. So imagine that. Ekwonu's like, where am I going to be in 2026? Where am I going to be? He's at the pool. What is that, OTAs? You're not even at OTAs yet. He's sitting at the pool. He's tanning. Maybe ordering a mojito, whatever he does in the offseason. I think he's from a medical family. His father's a doctor, I believe. So maybe hopefully he's not performing surgery. And he gets a call from the Panthers front office and they want to give him the option. Last second. Dan Morgan, he's the worst guy to work with in a hostage situation. He'd be a terrible hostage negotiator. Those hostages would be waiting in the building for hours. They have to deliver Hot Pockets via helicopter to feed the hostages. It would get to that point because people would go starving because he would not give in as a negotiator. He'd be like, yeah, keep the people in there. Let them starve. And they're just shuttling Hot Pockets into the bank until he realizes all Tepper's money is in the bank. He's willing to wait in football. That's what makes Morgan great. He's willing to wait. And you know what? I think Tepper likes it. Tepper was reported he has a big pair of brass balls on his desk. That's true. Brass balls. So maybe that's where Tepper's hiding the money. It's not brass, it's gold. And the richer he gets, the more billions that he gets, it just gets the balls bigger on his desk. And that's what's happening in Charlotte. His office is just all gold. And the stadium plans are put on hold because they have to move Tepper's big gold balls out of the office. All right, back to the show. Joe Person writes, you never know how negotiations will go. You never know how they'll go. So again, Person in the same mailbag, he goes, let me bring up the quote just so I don't misquote him. On Young's contract, the decision to pick up Young's fifth-year option before the May 1st deadline at an estimated $26.5 million is an easy one. He calls it an easy one. But what about Ekwonu? You never know how negotiations will go. But re-signing Ekwonu will be an off-season priority. That's what Person writes. You know what the tone thinks? I think Joe knows something. I think Joe's really smart. And I think he knows that Ekwonu might not be cemented here long-term. I believe that. And you know why I believe it? It has nothing to do with Ekwonu, who has statistically improved. Ekwonu, who has been better this season, giving up less sacks, giving up 5 sacks this season. His lowest total since allowing 6 as a rookie. So he's back to rookie year Ekwonu, which was really good. That offensive line in 2022 compared to 2023, you could say a lot of the difference was, yes, injuries. You also signed some guys that offseason. The difference was Ekwonu. Ekwonu took a huge step back in 2023, which is why he didn't get the extension for the most part last offseason. At least you think that. Unless they were just really far apart on the money, which might be the bigger deal here. This is what the Panthers are paying across the offensive line. 5 years, $100 million to Hunt in 2024, 63 guaranteed. 4 years, $53 million to Damian Lewis, 26 of that guaranteed. On top of that, Cade Mays, free agent. You just gave Taylor Moton an extension. Remember that? The offseason, Taylor Moton was in a negotiation. Same thing. These things, I know Panthers.com has a cool social media team, and I know the reels are really awesome, and they're flashy and all that. You had Moton in tears at the podium, mid-negotiation. I want to be here. I love being here. Reflecting on his time here. Unsure if he was going to stay with the Panthers, despite being the most consistent player, arguably. I don't know the time frame exactly, but he's been one of your more consistent players by far. By far. So he's getting a ton of money. Between Hunt, Lewis, you're going to have to pay Cade Mays maybe. I think you do pay Cade Mays, especially if you keep Young. Him and Young have a rapport. They have a lot of guys here making a lot of money. And I know the cap situation's good. I know they have a lot of money available. But now you're talking about maybe giving the option to Young. They're already linked to a pass rusher this offseason. So I think there's a case that Ekwonu might not be here in 2027 because he's here with the option through 2026. You could also trade Ikem Ekwonu. That is an option. That isn't the option. You gave him the option, so you have the option to trade him as well. You could do that if you wanted to. And they have a good pipeline at offensive line. I think Nyman is a free agent, I believe. I don't have it in front of me. Brady Christensen, also a free agent. But you have guys there that you could bring back on a lower money deal. It's not that Ekwonu is easily replaceable. He's not. I'm just telling you, because of all the money they're spending, and now you're giving him big money, and Joe Person's already saying you never know how negotiations will go. Re-signing Ekwonu is a priority, but you just never know how they go. That's what he says. And I think something's there, and I don't think this is a surefire re-signing. I think they would like it if the money's right, but if you're talking about giving him top dollar, you're already paying Hunt, Moton top dollar. Lewis is making a lot. Lewis is honestly on a really good contract for what he's done for you, but he's making a lot. You're going to have to maybe re-sign Cade Mays. The argument for Ekwonu staying here is I don't think they're going to draft a tackle. On top of that, Ekwonu's your left tackle. And he's not perfect. That Giants game, was it Bryce Huff, the pass rusher, flew by Ekwonu a couple of times. He's not a perfect left tackle. He's been by and far good, closer to his ceiling this season. What's the replacement plan for Ekwonu look like? Maybe it's Christensen. Maybe it's someone you can find in free agency. If they don't have a replacement plan, maybe they have to overpay him or pay him what he wants. Clearly, they're not on the same page with money. They weren't last offseason. I really don't think they're going to draft a first-round tackle. I don't think they're going to do that. So that's on Ekwonu's side. You know why? How can they look Evero in the eye and draft a first-round tackle? As important as left tackle is, you're going to go offense for the better part of 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and then go offense again? When's Evero going to get his toy? It's like bringing the kids to the store. We're in the Lego aisle the whole time for me. When do you get a gift? When do you get the new Nintendo Switch that's like $600? Ridiculous. When do you get it? I want to play Pokemon. Legos are expensive too, my gosh. Thank gosh I don't have children. Hey, it's ridiculous. I was talking to someone about it. I go, they know what they're doing when you walk into those toy stores. They're better at marketing than anyone else. They're so good at marketing. They could sell me Legos. And Legos are pretty cool. All right, let's talk about this. Panthers expected to add a pass rusher. Morgan to take a long look. So this is what Joe Person is saying. This mailbag, I thought it was really good. I missed it because I told you I was really overwhelmed by the Young news. And it was emotionally taxing. It was. In a good way. In a really good way. I was energized by it. Because it was one of those whoppers that you get, and I wasn't expecting it. It was a pleasant surprise. It was a pleasant surprise. It's like you walk into a public restroom and it smells good. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting to stay in here too long, but maybe I could. And that's how it was when I heard the Bryce Young news, because I was like, that's great for me. It's a lot of content to make, which is fun for me. But at the same time, it's a lot of research. I have to go all the way back in the archives. I have to try to understand these people. I have to have dreams about Dan Morgan. I have to take the same pre-workout that Dan Morgan's taking, which I'm telling you, it's enough for a horse. Guy's taking like 12 grams of caffeine. They measure it in grams, not even milligrams. It's the equivalent of 500 cups of coffee. That's why he doesn't blink. Dan Morgan, Joe Person writes, should take a long look at free agent pass rushers. It isn't a deep class. Honestly, I need to do more research on the class. It's headlined by Trey Hendrickson and Jalen Phillips. Two names they were linked to. Phillips a lot less. I think Morgan had the phone open. He had the phone open. Much like the situationship between the Panthers and Young. He's always willing to send a text. He's always willing to maybe offend the other team's front office. We'll give you a 7th rounder in 2050. We'll give you a 7th rounder when we're playing football on Venus. How are they going to do that? It's different on Venus. There's no gravity. That was the case for the Panthers and Jalen Phillips at the deadline. Trey Hendrickson was another guy where you got to, before the start of the season, a lot of people expected Morgan to make a move. Hendrickson upset in Cincinnati with the money, if it ain't about the money, and potentially Morgan was willing to go in and give Hendrickson money, or rather trade for the Bengals' star pass rusher. Could they be in on either of these guys? I think generally the defense has been good this season. I think they've been better. I think they've kept you in games. I think they've turned it over enough. They're not the Bears where they're winning because of turnovers, but they've turned it over enough. The bend don't break model has kept you in games. I think they've been able to force 3 and outs. I think they have been able to do that and keep these offenses in check and give you a chance, quite frankly, and give you a chance in a lot of these games. Yes, there's exceptions to the rule. Yes, New England beat you by 1,000,000. Yes, Dallas and LA got their own against you. They scored points. The Rams scored points. The Cowboys scored points. You won those games. So there's been situations where you could argue they could benefit from an additional star pass rusher. I personally think the sacks are overrated. I think the sacks are overrated. Joe Person writes, Pat Jones recorded 1 sack in 4 games before undergoing a season-ending back surgery. DJ Ekwonu, who had 4 sacks in 8 games last season, has none in 12 games this year. Obviously, you lost Brian Burns and Frankie Louvu since 2023. They have 13.5 combined sacks that season. Burns is, I think, second in sacks in the league behind Myles Garrett. You know the Falcons and Browns are second and third in sacks this season, and both teams stink. The reason I say that is because I think the Panthers have won in spite of having a super flashy pass rusher. Scorton's been pretty good. I think he works his butt off. I think no one works harder than that guy in terms of like what he shows on the field. You could certainly use a premium pass rusher. I think it would make a difference for sure. I think the sacks are a little bit overrated, though. This is the tone. The only sack is the one on David Tepper's desk made of brass. This is the tone. What's going to happen with the quarterback? Stay tuned for so much more. I got to go play some basketball. And hopefully I